on sufferers from stone, but I will give place to such as are craftsmen therein. Into whatsoever houses I enter, I will enter to help the sick, and I will abstain from all intentional wrongdoing and harm, especially from abusing the bodies of man or woman, bond or free. And whatsoever I shall see or hear in the course of my profession, as well as outside my profession in my intercourse with men, if it be what should not be published abroad, I will never divulge, holding such things to be holy secrets. Now, if I carry out this oath and break it not, may I gain forever reputation among all men for my life and for my art. But if I break it and forswear myself, may the opposite befall me. End quote. English translation by W.H.S. Jones. So there you have it, the full Hippocratic Oath. Another equivalent phrase is found in Epidemics, Book 1 of the Hippocratic School. Quote, practice two things in your dealings with disease. Either help or do not harm the patient. End quote. And I don't want to opine too much. I feel like it would be valuable for me to just provide you with many more quotes. Here's one. I will follow that system of regimen which, according to my ability and judgment, I consider for the benefit of my patients, and abstain from whatever is deleterious and mischievous. Now, in the information age, this is not a quote, in the information age, it's fascinating to see that information is the basis for many professions, holders of information. Yet in the information age, it is possible to do a lot toward your own health, which leads us into another quote. Everyone has a doctor in him or her. We just have to help it in its work. Our food should be our medicine, and our medicine should be our food. Leave your drugs in the chemist's pot if you can heal the patient with food. Health is the greatest of human blessings. To rephrase another time, make a habit of two things to help or at least to do no harm. Additionally, wherever the art of medicine is loved, there is also a love of humanity. That about wraps up this jam-packed installment of Andy's Philosophy Corner. Special thanks goes out to the Steel Plaza podcast for providing excellence in the publication of content that you, dear listener, find valuable. So, one way or another, please find it in your heart or in your wallet to support this podcast. It's not incredibly expensive, but there are, in fact, expenses that go into the production of this show. And what I'm hoping that people will be inclined to at least share, feel free to discuss the subjects on this show, and since one of the primary bases, well, I don't know if the right word is, of the information age is knowledge and sharing and connecting. And the primary basis of philosophy, one of the fundamental concepts is, I do not know. And one of the fundamental actions is to ask questions in philosophy. And I'll just wrap this up with a brief tale that some of you may be familiar with, some may not. Now, you may know that Plato wrote the Republic, and the main subject was contemporary philosopher Socrates. Some of you may know what Socrates did with his life and how his life ended. You see, Socrates was a guy who took it to heart that he does not know, and he asked questions when he didn't understand the responses. He would have even more questions, and more questions, and more questions, and more questions, until he was ultimately accused of corrupting the minds of the youth with too many questions. So a trial was held for Socrates. The result of the trial was a guilty verdict. The sentence for his guilty verdict was Socrates was to end his own life by drinking the poison hemlock. You ask a lot of questions. Here's your hemlock. It's also interesting to point out, as the story goes, that as this was happening, the best friends and loved ones and closest people in the life of Socrates implored him, escape, go to another city, avoid your own death, Socrates. And as the story goes, Socrates said that would be pointless. I'll go to another town. The exact same thing's going to happen there. So, while philosophy is concerned with asking questions in the pursuit of knowledge, one must be careful at all times, perhaps more so in the information age. So, that was my PS to the wrap-up of this show. So, PSS, thank you very much for your time. Thank you so much for all of you who are already actively supporting the Steel Plaza podcast. Without your contributions, without your likes and your shares, this show wouldn't be nearly as valuable as it is. And we've got nowhere to go but up. So, lastly, thanks for your time. Please feel free to look up past installments of Andy's Philosophy Corner, where we discussed such subjects as the lockdown, isolation, UFOs, the price of oil, Guardians, and earlier in most of this same podcast, Sunday Assembly. What we're trying to do is couch everything in the zeitgeist and the information age. How has philosophy changed? What does it mean now? What has changed? What has not changed? So, thanks so much for your time, for your support. Let me know if you want more guitar riffs in this podcast. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Enjoy this beautiful weather while we've got it. And take care, my friends. Goodbye.